South Africa secured a 27 billion rand World Bank loan. The funds will go towards unblocking key infrastructure bottlenecks, particularly in the freight and energy sectors. The energy sector is in need of 14,000 kilometers of transmission lines, estimated to cost more than 400 billion rand, to connect independent power producers to the grid. And multiple challenges in freight transport have constrained the export of key commodities. National Treasury says the partnership marks a significant step towards addressing SA's pressing economic challenges of low growth and high unemployment. South Africa must prioritise the digitalisation of its economy. That's according to Naspers. The tech investor and operator says the digital platform sector could inject over 91 billion rand into SA's economy by 2035. Those comments accompanied its annual results. Core headline earnings for continuing operations jumped 46%. Naspers has cited a significant improvement from Process's e-commerce operations and a strong showing by Tencent. Harmony says it's on track to meet its annual production targets and continues to benefit from a strong rand gold price. The bullion producer expects total output to come in at 1.4 and 1.5 million ounces. Harmony's added that it has a firm grip on costs, which are predominantly rand-based and made up on labor, consumables and electricity, and it therefore sees all-in sustaining costs sitting comfortably between its guided range. The mine is set to open its books in August. Orion Minerals has received a funding boost. The Mining Exploration Group says it secured a loan facility worth $500,000, and that's from Tani Holdings, a company which Orion's chairman Dennis Waddell is a director and shareholder of. Orion says the proceeds will principally be used for working capital. Funding for Komati's Just Transition project is gathering momentum, but it's at a slower pace than hoped for. The Presidential Climate Commission's released a progress report. It says while the World Bank approved a $500 million package to finance the decommissioning and repurposing of the coal-fired power station, only about $2.3 million of that has been dispersed. And this is due to procurement processes and scope revisions causing delays. The PCCs therefore called on global partners to accelerate support and ramp up their investments, grants and social services to ensure that the needs of those affected by the decommissioning are addressed. In international news, global airlines are reassessing their flight schedules in the Middle East following the US airstrikes on Iran, with many considering temporary suspensions. Here's more detail in this report.
Airlines around the world on Monday were deciding how long to pause flights to the Middle East after the US struck Iran over the weekend. Singapore Airlines, Air France-KLM, and British Airways have all cancelled flights to destinations such as Dubai, Riyadh, and Doha. During the Russia-Ukraine war, both of those countries' airspaces were closed to most international flights. This forced airlines to find new routes between Europe and Asia, making Middle East routes key for airlines. But now, data from flight tracking website FlightRadar24 shows that early Monday, hardly any planes were flying over Iran, Iraq, Syria, or Israel. Missile and drone attacks in more conflict areas are making flying riskier. Safe Airspace, a group that monitors flight risks, warned Sunday that the weekend US strikes on Iran could increase risks for American carriers in the region. Ahead of the strikes, American Airlines suspended flights to Qatar, while United Airlines did the same for Dubai. However, Israel is increasing flights to help stranded travelers at home and abroad. The country's airports authority says 24 rescue flights will arrive Monday, each limited to 50 passengers. Israeli airline El Al said on Sunday that it got about 25,000 requests to leave Israel in one day.
And Japanese shipping companies Nippon Yusen and Mitsui O.S.K. Lines have ordered their vessels to limit their time in the Gulf and expedite passage through the Strait of Hormuz amid heightened tensions after the U.S. implemented strikes on Iran. Let's take a look for more detail.
Japanese shipping companies said they've instructed vessels to minimise time in the Gulf as they transit the Strait of Hormuz. That's following Sunday's US strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Both Nippon Yusen and Mitsui O.S.K. Lines, or MOL, said on Monday they're closely monitoring the situation, with Nippon Yusen saying it'll make decisions on each vessel's passage through the strait. MOL said its Safety Operations Supporting Centre in Tokyo has stepped up 24-hour surveillance.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
President Donald Trump spoke after the US joined an Israeli assault in an escalation of the Middle East conflict, as Tehran vowed to defend itself. Iran's Supreme National Security Council must make the final decision on whether to close the Strait of Hormuz, according to Iran's press TV on Sunday. That's after Parliament was reported to have backed the measure. Around 20% of global oil and gas flows through this strait, and Iran has long used the threat of closing it as a way to ward off Western pressure, which is now at a peak following the US strikes.